I think now is a fairly good chance to just address some of the concerns around the legendary servers, as I've been getting quite a few comments and messages on Discord as well about playing on the legendary servers and people having concerns as to, what's the longevity like? What happens when a legendary server ultimately runs its course? And a completely valid concern. Standing Stone Games have done a number of legendary servers in this game throughout the years that it's been in production. And the reason, for those of you that don't know, behind a legendary server is it's essentially what they class as a progression or a classic server. Everything gets reset back to the very first base game. Expansions then get released sort of one by one as they're due to come out. And it essentially tries to pull the players together, so everyone comes in as a fresh restart. There is something really addictive about jumping back into a game that you've known and loved, whether it be for I guess enjoyment purposes or nostalgia, and you get to run that 0 to 50 cap with a lot more people than you would normally see. Now, what tends to happen is over time, these servers, they have the expansions come out and more content gets introduced. And eventually, players start to wean off them slightly. Maybe normally after the first month of a membership to a new legendary server, there's quite a drop. Once that membership, the VIP, ends, a lot of people tend to not resub and just kind of take a bit of a break from it. So what tends to happen is, as more expansions then come out, the player base for those particular servers, they tend to drop ever so slightly, and that will gradually decrease over time. Thus brings us to the question, what happens when Standing Stone Games, and it's entirely up to them at this point, what happens if they decide that the legendary servers just aren't viable anymore, whether it be financially, statistically, it's totally up to them. What happens if they pull the plug? Well, if that happens, what tends to happen is you are given a character transfer window. So you can choose to port your character that you spend all that time grinding deeds, virtue experience, levels, legendary gear, crafting experience, all the time that you've put into that character is not lost. You can then port that to another server of your choice. So don't worry about that whatsoever. One thing I would say to combat that argument, so that we've just put that to rest for a little bit, the new legendary servers, as everyone's been banging on about for the last month, myself included, do include the new 64-bit technology. More importantly, the Mordor server that I'm on currently is the first, if I'm not mistaken, of the EU servers, a traditional EU server, which is massive for me. The connection's great, the performance is fantastic. Because of these reasons, I can't speak on behalf of Angmar, but I don't see the Mordor server particularly going anywhere without having a viable EU replacement. As good as my game performance tends to be, apart from a little bit of lag here and there on some of the older classic servers, it will be nowhere near as smooth and seamless as to what I'm experiencing now on Mordor. So I really think they will struggle in this case to replace what they've currently brought to the table with these legendary servers. I guess, and I'm not in the know, but I guess moving forward, the idea will be to bring all of the 32-bit servers up to a 64-bit basis. So it would make sense to me that these are the foundations. These servers are the foundations for everything that is due to come. So I guess, in a nutshell, don't panic. If you're jumping into this game for the first time, and a lot of people actually, it's really surprising because normally progression servers or legendary servers, they kind of generally appeal to the veteran player base, people that kind of want a fresh restart with more people about. But there's been quite a large influx of newer players to the game. And I see a lot of you guys in the comments, watching the videos, chatting to me generally, and it's fantastic. And I love the fact that a lot of people are jumping into Lord of the Rings Online right now. So it's completely fine that you've got concerns about what happens. What happens to the legendary servers? What happens if because bearing in mind, you're paying for a membership, right? You are paying to be a VIP to play on these servers. So this doesn't come for free. So there is initial investment there. So you need to make sure that not only is your time spent in the right place, but is your money spent in the right place as well. But yeah, what I would say to you is, if you're a new player, you're worried about where's my money, where's my character going to go, you're in good hands. You're not just going to be left high and dry. They're not just going to sort of pull the plug. I really do feel like what SSG are trying to do right now, this is almost like kind of dipping your toe in the water to see sort of how deep the lake is before you jump in wholeheartedly. They've got a lot of passion, a lot of time, and a lot of investment in this game, and I think they've done wonders to keep it where it is now. But I don't think they're quite happy just sort of towing the line. You know, a lot of MMOs in terms of performance, I'm not talking about the in-game ambience or the world setting, but in terms of performance, a lot of MMOs have overtaken them. You know, I mean, this is a, 17-year-old game, so it is lacking in some areas, but they are doing their best to try and keep that standard. So I really don't feel like there's anything to worry about whatsoever. I do feel like the only major issues that might come into play as the legendary servers get a little bit more dated is the performance that we know now to be really kind of silky and smooth. I do think that might sort of take a bit of a toll, especially as some of the more sort of rare Wraith spawns are coming in and everyone's grouping together. I've noticed that that can be a bit of a clusterfuck. So it'll be cool to see how it all pans out over time. But right now, no complaints. I don't think the servers are going anywhere. But if they do, character transfers will be offered to people that have invested their time and their money. Hopefully this has helped kind of clarify some questions and some bits and bobs that I've been asked. If you get any further points that you just want to clarify, drop them down below. Leave a like, subscribe. It's been awesome to see so many of you guys jump into the channel. My cat's here now, so I'm going to go.